The backward and brutal regime of Faure Gnassingbé in Togo, Yoweri Museveni in Uganda, and Paul Kagame in Rwanda are the biggest threats Africa faces from inside right now. All Africans should have already been wise enough to understand that Paul Kagame, Faure Gnassingbé, and Yoweri Museveni, for instance, are not leaders but brutal dictators. 99% of the African so-called presidents are not leaders, builders, Pan-Africanists, and models, but they are unfortunately puppets, tools for imperialists, thieves, and tragedies. Togo is a West African country that was divided in 1914 between the French and British, after Germany was defeated in the World War I. The western part of Togo, known as Togoland or the Volta region, is now part of Ghana, and it is still a disputed territory. After its independence in 1960, a patriotic and Pan-Africanist president named Sylvanus Olympio led Togo. Unfortunately, he was savagely assassinated in 1963 by Ayadima Gnassingbé, the father of the current dictator, so-called president of Togo Faure Gnassingbé, with the help of the French and American intelligence agencies. The Gnassingbé regime, from the father to the son, had been the participants in the major wars that have plagued the Africa continent for the past 60 years. Many international reports had underscored the involvement of the late Ayadima Gnassingbé in bloody civil wars in Africa, such as the Biafra War in Nigeria, the civil wars in Liberia, Sierra Leone, Angola, Central African Republic, Sudan, etc. The name of his son Faure Gnassingbé was also mentioned in the civil war in Ivory Coast that toppled the former president Laurent Gbagbo. Sylvanus Epifanio Olympio, born on 6 September 1902, was a Togolese politician who served as prime minister and then president of Togo from 1958 until his assassination in 1963. After graduating from London School of Economics, he worked for Unilever and became the general manager of the African operations of that company. After World War II, Olympio became prominent in efforts for Togolese independence, and his party won the 1958 elections, making him the prime minister of the country. His power was further cemented when Togo achieved independence and he won the 1961 elections, making him the first president of Togo. The founding father of the independent Republic of Togo was a gifted orator, fluent in 3 languages, French, German, and English, as well as strongly anti-French. The attack on the Togolese president's residence in Lomé began at 11 p.m., and the assassination took place the next morning at 7:15 a.m. in front of the gates of the U.S. Embassy. The president's death has been documented as the first death during a military coup in Africa. Witnesses have testified. Documents have been declassified. But will we ever know the truth? As Ghana neared independence in 1957, Togo, a former German colony, was being administered by the British and the French. In British Togoland, the British held a referendum that would give the people of British Togoland the option to either remain with Togo or join the soon-to-be independent country of Ghana. Just after independence in 1960, Togo's first president told the AFP that, quote, "I will do my best to ensure my country can thrive without France." Unlike the Guinean Sékou Touré, he did not openly oppose France. In early 1963, Olympio considered leaving the franc zone, CFA, and creating a Togo's own currency that is controlled by Togo. Togo, through its balancing policy, risked offering a model of emancipation to all former French colonies. Ultimately, according to Paris, Olympio was more dangerous than Sékou Touré. The assassination of Olympio happened only 3 days after he printed his country's currency, or he walked out of the political and economic servitude France has imposed on many African countries.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Good day, fellow Africans. Good day, our brothers and sisters in Togo. My name is Manchaite, and I wish to extend this message and address to the President of Togo, Faure Gnassingbé. Your Excellency, my greetings to you with love. As a proud citizen of Africa and a Ghanaian by birth, I recognize the historical and cultural ties between our nations, Ghana and Togo. These connections are rooted in our shared traditions, aspirations, and the spirit of African unity. You became president of Togo on May 4th, 2005, after winning a controversial election following the death of your father, Iyadima, who ruled Togo for 38 years. Your Excellency, Faure Gnassingbé, I recall your presence in Ghana on multiple occasions where you witnessed democratic transitions. On January 7, 2005, You stood with us as President John Ajekum Kufuor was sworn in. Again on 7th January 2009, you were with us. You came to witness another swearing in of President John Evans Atta Mills, and followed by John Dramani Mahama after a democratic elections. During the swearing in of office of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in 2017, you were there. The swearing in of the second term of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama this past January 7th, 2025, you represented. These moments, among others, have demonstrated Ghana's commitment to democracy, the rule of law, and respect for the will of the people. Yet after all these years of standing with Ghana in its democratic journey, it is deeply troubling that you have not extended the same democratic principles to the over 9.5 million Togolese. Despite your long rule of 20 years of office and your father's 38 years long holding on to power, making over 58 years of one family in power, Togo remains deprived of the true democratic experience that Ghana and many African nations have embraced. The people of Togo deserve better, and they deserve the right to freely choose their leaders, experience political freedom, and enjoy full rights without fear of oppression or dictatorship. Democracy is the implementation of various ideas and opinions of leadership to better the lives of the people. But in the case of the people of Togo, it is different. Because one family has hijacked the will and the rights of the people to their advantage. Togo deserves independence from your family. Allow the beautiful people of Togo the right to choose their destiny as far as leadership is concerned. Your Excellency Fonya Singbe, you have subjected the voice of the masses in Togo. The people are scared to talk because their right to democracy is robbed by your family. 58 years of office for one family is enough. I call this black colonization. I call this dynasty. I call this autocracy. Mr. President Fonya Singbe, this is kleptocracy and not democracy. The people of Togo deserve much better than what they have today under your oppressive family. And this will definitely come to an end. It may take a while, but it will happen soon. We have seen the disgraceful fall of some African leaders who hijacked the will of the people and the right to choose their leaders. We saw Gaddafi. We saw Yahya Jammeh. We saw Omar Bongo. We saw Robert Mugabe. Omar al-Bashir went down. Mamadou Tanja of Niger went down. And soon we shall witness yours if you continue to refuse the people their right to be given to them. Mr. President Fonya Singbe, you will make yourself a great legacy if you allow the laws and the constitution of Togo to take full effect than the interest of you and your family. The people's interest should be supreme and must be allowed a full course. The ECOWAS community is watching aloof. African Union is silent, and one family is damaging the people's rights. Therefore, I am calling on African Union, the economic community of West African states, and the broader international community to intervene on behalf of the people of Togo. The time has come for Togo to break free from dynastic rule and experience true democracy, just like its neighbors. I urge all international democratic forces and citizens of conscience to stand with the people of Togo and demand an end to the entrenched rule of one family. Africa must move forward, and Togo cannot be left out. The future of our continent depends on our leaders who respect the will of the people, uphold democratic values, and govern with accountability. My fellow African Togolese in Togo and the diaspora, voice out. Do not be afraid. Let the world know the heinous experience under His Excellency Faure Gnassingbé. Speak out. It is your right. Demonstrate for the world to see. The regime of one family rule must stop, and the people of Togo must start dreaming beyond their current circumstances. Togo needs independence from the black family of greed. Ghana is enjoying an uninterrupted democracy of the Fourth Republic for over 33 years and has seen massive development and several economic opportunities. Togo is one of our closest families in Africa. Therefore, we wish they experience a peaceful change of government such as we have in Ghana. All thanks to the true son of Africa who made this possible, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, who made this possible and peacefully handed over power to a political opponent, NPP. To date, Ghanaians are still exercising their right to a leader by the choice of a majority. Your Excellency Faure Gnassingbé, let your government become a history of good legacy. Allow the people to choose their leader, and let democracy take absolute control of the land of Togo, such as the legacy His Excellency John Jerry Rawlings left behind. One day, you will wish you took this advice from me. You will want to go through it. Togo will be fully democratic. To the people of Togo, you will soon be free. We shall forever speak the entire truth to your leaders and politicians. I am your advocate, and the one family regime will end soon. Though I am a Ghanaian, I am an African and a true son, of course. We have waited long enough, and it is time for change, and the world is watching. With firm resolve and deep concern, I am Manchaite. I am your brother, your advocate for democracy in Togo.
Faure Gnassingbé, the so-called president of Togo and probably the most brutal dictator in Africa right now. Faure Gnassingbé has even become an advisor to the so-called revolutionary leaders Assimi Goïta of Mali and Abdourahmane Tiani of Niger. Faure Gnassingbé seized power 20 years ago in a constitutional and bloody coup after the sudden death of his father, who was not just brutal but barbaric. For more than 60 years, the Gnassingbé family has taken Togo hostage, has been oppressing, depriving, and starving Togolese. As it reported, the so-called revolutionary leaders in Mali and Niger have suddenly become the adulators and admirers of Faure Gnassingbé because they have also been receiving millions if not billions of dollars of stolen money the Gnassingbé brutal regime has been giving out for almost 60 years to buy foreign support and to bribe high-ranking individuals, not to say anything about its several human rights violations. For the past 60 years, the brutal regime of the Gnassingbé family has also supported financially or enriched many politicians and individuals in West Africa, across Africa, and beyond in exchange for support. Many credible analysts, with deep understanding of politics and its ramification in African countries, already said that the brutal dictator Faure Gnassingbé has been acting as an informant within the newly formed Sahel Bloc AES for his French and American masters. Like his late father, Faure Gnassingbé is unquestionably an incompetent and worthless president who has been wasting Togo's resources, drowning Togo in colossal debt. Worse, the Gnassingbé's brutal regime in Togo has been torturing, murdering, starving, and enslaving millions of native Togolese for the past 60 years. It should be very clear now to everyone that the main problem Africa faces right now comes from its so-called presidents, politicians, intellectuals, and academics. Even though the so-called African leaders have tarnished the image of Africa, black people should not let others shame or despise them. Contrary to unimaginable things that have happened in places such as India, China, or Europe, There has never been in Africa and throughout its history a debate on whether baby girls have the right to live or whether the construction of a human zoo is moral. So, why we Africans still allow others to lecture us about human rights? Contrary to France and the rest of Europe, where women were considered as objects until 1970, or where the society had to decide whether women and black people should vote, there has never been in Africa a debate on whether women have rights or on whether others have the right to vote. So, why we Africans still allow others to lecture us about human right and democracy? In Africa, since the dawn of time, women have led the society as queens. So, why we Africans still allow others to lecture us about women rights?